Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Join Terry with Tracer Rounds every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern to hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio. If you miss a show, you can listen again on Wreaths Across America Radio every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Tune in to see if you are on target. MBR, giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to the Tracer Rounds podcast, and I'm your host, Terry, and you're on MBR, where we're giving veterans a voice, and tonight's veteran is Jason Steiner with Herostock. Welcome, Jason.
Terry, thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to have you on because I've been doing some research on your organization, and I'm really excited about it because a lot of the people that you have in your Herostock performances are people that we've had on the station, and they're some of my favorite bands. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. But first, I thought we'd talk about your military service because I know you're a veteran as well. And so if you want to tell us a little bit about what you did in the military, your time in service, and maybe some deployments or some of the best assignments that you would say you had while you were in the military.
Sure. I served in the Marine Corps from 96 to 2000. I was, as I say, I'm one of the lucky ones. I got to miss everything. So I served all garrison. I went in as a 1833 amphibious assault vehicle driver. So I got to play with the tanks that floated and went from ship to shore and hauled around the crunchies with us. And, we went to Okinawa was the only deployment that I did. We were over there in 97 and went to, the Rock, did the time there, and then actually went up to mainland for a month and a half. And on my 21st birthday, my whole section climbed Mount Fuji.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty cool to say. On my 21st birthday, I got to climb Mount Fuji. And we came back and me and a buddy went down to the enlisted club. And of course we're broke, we're E2s and E3s. So we had no money. And I had $5 to my name, and over there they have slot machines. Yeah. And so I had $5 and I went up and bought a pitcher of beer for $2 and put the other $3 in the slot machine and got just about out of money, and it kicked out another $5. So I went up and bought another pitcher of beer and went back to the slot machine and put it in and kicked out another $5, and it gave me enough to get really, really drunk that night and, crawl back to the barracks and it was a pretty cool deployment. Our section or our group that went over with Alpha Company, we were kind of the guys that you didn't use the mechanics unless you absolutely had to. You didn't use the comm unless you absolutely had to. We were very self-sufficient with the group that we had. So it was kind of fun to be in that group, to where you had guys that were specialties with comm, and you had guys that were specialties with the motors and the tracks, and guys that were specialties with the actual tracks, and and that kind of stuff, to where we could keep our own stuff going and didn't have to rely on somebody else. And taught me a lot of leadership and a lot of good pieces like that I could carry into the rest of my military career. We got back from Okinawa October 31st, actually Halloween. We came back, and the next day they dismantled our platoon, and they sent everybody different directions. What's up, H train? So we got to go, to different places, and they sent me over to the landmine clearing platoon with the amphibs. And
oh, wow.
That was probably one of the coolest jobs I ever had. It was an amphibious assault vehicle. In the back where the troop carrier portion is, they could fit 3 500 pounds of C4, and it was linked in rope in the blocks, and it had a rack that would hydraulically raise up, and it had 3 rockets on it. You'd tie the rope off to the rocket, you'd hit a button, and that rocket would take off and drag all that rope out, and it'd lay it over top of concertina wire or landmines or whatever it might be, whatever obstacle there was.
Yeah.
And then you detonate it, and the tracks were 36 tons, and the closest block was about 60 yards away, I would say. And there was enough force that it would actually set the track back on its heels.
Oh my goodness.
You could feel it rocket back. There was that much explosive force in front of it. So, we got to play with that for a while, and I think I did that for about 5 months or so. And the staff sergeant that was in charge of us when we were in Japan, he actually pulled me up from there to be the battalion marksmanship instructor. And so I got super lucky my last 2 years. I got to do nothing but play with guns. All I did. That was my whole job.
Good day.
Yeah, exactly. Terrible time. I hate doing,
Right. Don't put me out on the range. Please don't do that.
Right. We would train about 1,100 Marines and corpsmen a year. We took care of the MEUs, the 13th and 15th MEU. We took care of all the Navy corpsmen that were on our base at Camp Pendleton, and put them on our ranges and stuff. So we went through a lot of individuals that we would put on the rifle range, per week. And it was 1 week snapping and classroom training, and then the next week we were out on the range. And I think in the 52 weeks in the year, I believe we only had 4 weeks off total.
Wow.
Range.
That's not much.
Yeah. So, and it was 3 a.m. in the morning to get up and get the chow and get everything ready, and, get out to the range before it was light out and get everybody set up and into the pits, one group into the pits and one group online. But that was probably my favorite duty, because not only did I get to play with guns, get to instruct, but we never did anything with the battalion. So we never had to go on battalion runs. We never had to PT. We never, it was always up to us. What's up, Jay Kent? It was a lot of fun to be separated from the battalion. We were still part of it, but we kind of got forgotten. So we didn't have to do all the BS that a lot of the guys had to do in the military. So
doesn't sound too bad, but 3 a.m. does sound not so much fun sometimes, because you're probably working till late into the evening too.
We would run till about 5 in the afternoon or 5 in the evening.
That's a long day.
Yeah. And then part of that, I was actually living down in California. So I was about 50 minutes from base. At 1 o'clock in the morning, it was about 50 minutes. Now, when I was going home, it was,
Wow.
I'd leave at 1700 and I get home at, 8, or it'd be 2200, 2100, 2200 by the time I got home because of the traffic. But,
Oh my goodness.
so not a whole lot of turnaround time
Yeah.
but yeah, the 3 a.m. I'm not a morning person anyway. And then, having that drive thrown on top of it was not fun. So
No, not at all. I can't imagine. That doesn't sound I mean, the gun part, yes, that sounds great. The range and the rifles, okay, no problem. But
Yep.
the drive and the get up time, the wake up call, no, I don't think so. That doesn't sound like very much fun at all.
Yep, exactly. Actually, that right there is my pith cover that I wore out on the rifle range. That was
Oh, wow.
my staff sergeant. When I got out, he made that plaque for me with my 3 highest ranks of people that I qualified as expert.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that he did that for me, and it's come with me everywhere I've moved. So
it's pretty important, pretty special.
yes, for sure.
So what do you think your biggest takeaway is from the service? What would you say, like if you had to like encapsulate your service and you had to say, well, this is what I'm taking with me when I leave the service, because, this has been something that's kept me going, sustained me, or taught me to just be, persevere. Is there anything that you would say that of your military time?
I think probably the biggest thing is to never quit. Like you were never allowed to quit, and going through boot camp, there were times where you're like, why am I doing this? This is the dumbest decision I've ever made. But at the end of the day, it shows you, that if you don't quit, there's good things on the other side.
Yeah.
And so it has taught me with everything I've done, whether it's owning my own business or, running nonprofits, whatever it might be, that you're going to run into speed bumps. There's going to be tough times. There's going to be things that gets thrown in your way. And you have to figure out how to keep grinding and keep going to push through that time, because there's always something better once you get past it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a snake sheds its skin for something bigger and something better. So
true. That's true. So what did you do after you got out of the military?
So when I got out of the military, we took I got married in 98. And so we took about a 3 to 4 week drive to get back from California back to Nebraska. And we went up and stayed with her mom in San Luis Obispo for a little bit, and went to Vegas and the Grand Canyon, and, just kind of did a trip, down through there. And we got to Vegas, and my wife wasn't feeling well. And she's like, I think I'm not going to drink. And we got to Tombstone, and she's like, I think I might be pregnant.
Oh no.
So Nebraska was supposed to be a temporary stay for us. We got back here in 2000, and we're still here in 2025. So, because once we got back home, it was confirmed, yes, she was pregnant. And so we got back here, and both of my brothers did flooring, and, whether it was carpet or wood floors or whatever. And so I started working with one of my brothers to learn the trade. I was planning on going to school to be auto mechanic, something like that.
Yeah.
And with the new baby on the way, I couldn't afford it. So I went right into work with my brother and worked with him for about 9 months, kind of learned the tricks of the trade. And then started my own business in January 2001. And I've been doing flooring since January 1st of 2001. So,
wow.
Yeah, my own business. And it's, again, a lot of struggles and a lot of good times and bad times with it. So,
yeah. Well, I think we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about when you, how you got the idea to start a nonprofit and why you started it, and just kind of talk about those types of things. So right now we're going to play Linwood King, Don't Walk Away.
About the way I'm feeling, 'cause I'm not sure.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Okay, welcome back to Tracer Rounds, and this is your host, Terry. I'm with Jason, and that was Die Tired, so-called complex. So I had an itchy trigger finger. I don't know what happened. It just decided it was going to go first. So sorry, Die Tired. That was Die Tired. So just so everybody knows, that was not Linwood King. Sorry.
Well, it's funny because Die Tired is one of our artists that
I
will
know.
be taking the stage.
I know. I'm so excited. They're here too. They just put up a shout out. Hold on. Where did it go? Yes, right here. Here we go.
Yeah.
Right?
We love Die Tired. They are great dudes.
They are the best. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm glad it worked out good that we played that one. My finger just like went to that one. I don't know what happened.
It's the magic button.
It is. It is. So I'm so excited to welcome you back to talk about your nonprofit. So your nonprofit is Herostock. So and that's the name. And that's also like, it's kind of like a Woodstock where you have performers come, right? I mean, that's kind of the impetus behind the name, maybe.
Yep. So this actually goes clear back to 2019. I was the founder of another nonprofit, the Nebraska Warriors Hockey Program. It's part of USA Hockey, and they started this Warriors program to work with disabled veterans, to put them on the ice, to give them the home, the camaraderie, the being back on the battlefield, the whole 9 yards, for depression and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And I was one of the founding members of that. There was 4 of us, and we started that up 21, we had an incident where money had come up missing, and it kind of blew the organization apart. And me and another Marine grabbed the reins, and we kind of kept it together and pushed through all the negative stuff that was going on, and tried to filter out everything to get it to where we understood where the money went, at least, so that we could show, hey, this is what happened. And now we're putting in these stop blocks to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Right.
During that time, there was a lot of nasty stuff going on within the organization with people and that kind of thing. And I decided, I had another guy reach out, and he's like, man, you guys just need to do something other than hockey. And I was like, maybe a night out. Just having a night for veterans to hang out, that might be something kind of cool. Yeah. And I've got a Marine that lived up the street from me, and he came down one night. We were having a beer in the front yard, and I was like, man, I'm trying to plan this night out, and the only thing I can really come up with is like going axe throwing. And he's like, oh man, that'd be fun. And I'm like, well, but veterans, alcohol, axes, how many trips are we making to the ER? Like this is probably not a great plan.
Life flight on standby.
Exactly. So he's like, well, I got a buddy that he might come in and play some music if you guys want some music involved. And I've always been huge with music. I always relate with music. That's a huge piece of who I am. And I can't play and I can't sing, but I love listening to it. So I was like, yeah, man, that might be kind of fun. So I contacted the kid or the guy, and he's like, yeah, I can come in October 22nd. Well, in Nebraska, it could be 80 degrees or it could be a blizzard in October. Like, we have no idea. And I said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to do it. Yeah, we want you to come in. So we locked him in, and about a day or two later, he comes down. My buddy comes down again, and he's like, I got another band that wants to come in and play. And I'm like, okay, then we're going to do something with it. Like, if we're going to bring in 2 bands, we're going to make this something. It's not just going to be a little hangout thing.
Right.
And I had 45 days from the day of the idea to the day of the event. And we ended up putting together, there was about 60 different baskets that we gave away as door prizes.
Yeah.
We had a food truck come in. We had a cornhole tournament going on. We had 2 bands playing. We had a helicopter fly over during the national anthem, and unexpected that it flew over during the national anthem, but it happened and it was cool. So I'll take credit for that. But it was just really kind of a cool night. And the first name was actually Vetstock. That was,
Herostock.
yeah, it was the Veterans Woodstock is basically what we were trying to plan. And what's up, Tony? You know, and yeah, right. But it was such a cool night, and so many people came up to me or emailed or texted after the event, and they're like, "You have to do this again." And I'm like, my daughter's going to be graduating in 23, like, or 24. You know, I'm like, I just got so much going on, and I own my own business. I'm like, I don't know that I really want to start my own nonprofit.
Yeah.
And the more they kept hitting me, they were like, man, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. This is what the veteran world needs. You got to do it. And so we went to file for paperwork in April of 23. And the lawyer's like, there's actually a vet stock already on the East Coast. And I was like, okay, well, we can't use that name. And somebody out of our group was like, how about Herostock?
Yeah.
I was like, that's a great idea. But instead of just limiting to veterans, let's open this up to first responders and Gold Star families. You know, our first responders, they see trauma and PTSD and all that every single day. Like
yes, they do.
They don't get a break. You know, they get their little bit of time off here and there, but outside of that, they don't get a break from it. And
right.
I said, then, you know, you throw the Gold Star families in, and they're the ones that lost a loved one.
Yeah.
You know, so let's pull them into the fold too. And so we filed the paperwork, got it back in May. I went on a run from, I want to say it was April was my first podcast. And I did it with two drunk dudes in a gun room, Donald Dunn. That was my very first podcast that I did. And from then it just kind of exploded, and I was searching podcasts, and I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. Would you be interested in having me on? And I had some of them come back and they're like, yeah, no, I'm not sure that's really what we want to do. And, but I had other ones that were like, yeah, come on. And so I was doing a lot of podcasts. I was doing 2 or 3 a week, sometimes a couple a day.
Wow.
And as I started gaining traction with it, those ones that were like, well, we're not, they're emailing me going, hey man, would you be interested in being on our podcast?
Right. You're like,
yeah, let's go. I asked you, but yeah, let's go. I want to say I did 48 podcasts or 24 different podcasts and like 48 or 56, something like that, interviews in like 6 months.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It was a lot. My wife's like, another one? I'm like, yeah, another one. Here we go. But our first event under the banner Herostock, we had over 1,000 people show up to it.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, we had over 44 nonprofits. We had 16 different states that came into it just to see what we were doing.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of tipped me with the nonprofits was our very first year, we had 12 of them show up to the event. And I only knew 3 of them. And I'd already been in the nonprofit world for 2.5 years at this point. And I was very immersed in the nonprofit world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I don't know them, what does your veteran that's been out a year or your veteran that's been out 20 years that isn't involved in the nonprofit world, what do they know?
Right.
You know, the VFWs, the Legions, the Tunnels for Towers, you know, the big ones, the big national ones. You don't know all these small, local, little mom and pops, nonprofits that are doing great things.
Right.
So
work.
Yeah. And so that became kind of our main focus of what we do. Now, the music is awesome, you know, that we have music involved with it. But our big reason for Herostock is to pull together all of the local area nonprofits and have them all in one spot. You come out to Herostock and you can talk to a motorcycle group, a knitting group, a book reading group, a gaming group, gardening group, and it's all veteran nonprofit stuff. And, you know, now we're getting the first responder stuff starting to come in too, that, you know, that we can cater to them a little bit. but it's really creating that community where you can go to one spot and you can see all of these different nonprofits and talk to them and understand what their mission is and what they're doing and go, I really want to be a part of this. And, you know, we've had some amazing testimonials come out of it. They're on our website that, you know, people didn't know this stuff even existed. And now it's right there in front of them. They can touch it. They can feel it. They can talk to them. They can hear the stories. So it's been really cool on the resource side to be able to have access to all of these nonprofits. And if we get somebody that comes to us and says, hey, man, I'm really struggling. Well, what do you like? Oh, well, I like cars. Dog Tags Garage in Omaha. They bring in veterans vehicles and they work on them. You know, they change their oil and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can go up there and hang out with car guys. And, you know, so it's actually spread farther than just Nebraska. We've got Gunny with the Primal Outfitters up in, what's up, Travis? Up in Michigan. And he takes, you know, veterans hunting and, takes them hunting and fishing up in Lake Michigan and Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We've got Deke Letzen out in Colorado with the Veteran Exploration Therapy Group, and they do hikes and whitewater rafting and just all kinds of stuff. Eddie's Horsemanship in Wyoming. They do equine therapy out in Sheridan, Wyoming, where they ride up in the Bighorn Mountains.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I have expanded now outside of the state of Nebraska with all these nonprofits and getting to work and talk with them and understand what their program is and know that if I have somebody from Wyoming that needs help, go do equine therapy. It's free.
Yeah.
You know,
that's pretty awesome.
It is. It's been amazing. And getting to help people that way has been really cool for me to be able to just, I can't help them personally here, but because you're in Wyoming, but here you've got this contact, and this contact has 35 more contacts in Wyoming.
Yeah.
You know,
that's very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to take another quick break. And this time we're going to play Linwood King and then we'll be right back.
Perfect.
Thank you.
It's been way too long since I heard your voice call my name. I don't want to leave you now, no. Baby, don't walk away, no. It's been way too long since I heard your voice call my name. It's been
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Welcome back to MBR, where we're giving veterans a voice. And tonight's voice is to Jason Steiner, who is the CEO of Herostock. And we were just talking about the different events you were putting on and how a bunch of other organizations from other places have tried or have reached out to partner with you so that they can help veterans in their area. So you have an event coming up in August. In Nebraska.
Yep.
And how many bands are going to be included and what all is going to go on there?
Our main event in August is August 22nd and 23rd at Country Drive Golf Course. We'll have 8 bands over 2 nights, 1 night rock, 1 night country. We'll have camping on site. We will have stuff for the kids to do. We'll have food trucks. We'll have probably a parachuting team coming in again to parachute in the American flag and the Gold Star family flag. Raffles, silent auctions, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's a great time. And we've got a couple returners this year. Rock Night, we'll have Die Tired coming back again. This will be the second year. Yeah. Super excited to have them guys back, man. They're the salt of the earth guys, and they never thought they'd ever come to Omaha, Nebraska to do a show or fly into Omaha. And
right.
So last year they flew in and they got to spend a little bit of time up in Omaha, and their inside joke is they're actually looking for houses here because they're ready to move here because people are so nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's, I got to pick them up from the motel the next day and bring them out to the event. And they were just like, man, this is so surreal for us to be able to fly halfway across the country and do a show.
Yeah. And
so we got them coming in again this year. We've got, we got Shannon Book again this year, another Texas native.
Yep.
He's been doing a lot of stuff with us, and he's just an amazing dude. One of the huge supporters of Herostock, and I can't thank Shannon enough for all he has done for us. And so he'll actually be coming in August 9th for our smoke off event. And then he'll also be here August 22nd and 23rd for our main event. I may just end up just talking him into staying and doing some towel work with me or something, but
come on, I'll put you to work. Let's go.
Yeah, right. We got a local band named Gallivant. They won the Battle of the Bands up here at the Whiskey Roadhouse. They're a lot of fun to watch. They actually will switch instruments in the middle of the song. And the bass is playing guitar and the lead is playing rhythm, and pretty wild to watch. And then the headliner for Rock Night is Lockjaw. And these guys actually come out of Texas as well. They're a heavy metal band. Sound a lot like, if I had to describe them as a band that everybody knows is Bad Wolves, they kind of got that Bad Wolves sound. But Jeff with Lockjaw, he reached out last year and he's like, man, I want to play this event. And we had him slotted for one, and then the event ended up not going. And so I was like, well, we'll just move you to our main event. He's like, my sister has a wedding that day.
Yeah.
So he decided he probably better not miss his sister's wedding. So
yeah,
we got him locked in for this year.
Nice.
Really looking forward to having them guys coming up. They're loud. They're very loud and they're good. So it'll be a lot of fun having them in. And then our country night, we have South of Center coming back, which is one of our local bands. They've got 2 veterans and one that's still active duty, I believe, in their band. Wow. We've got Kimberly Meyer coming back. She's another local native. She's the commander for the band in Omaha, chief warrant officer up in the National Guard and the Army. She'll be playing with her full band that night. We've got another great friend of mine, Tony Trainer's, the Trainer Band. They have a veteran in their band that he doesn't like to be talked about. He's like, I don't want any notoriety. I did my thing, but now I'm playing a band. So we don't talk about him. But they're going to be the warm-up band for Mr. LV Shane. And LV does not have any military ties other than his family. He tried to go in when he was 20 years old, ended up having a a disease of some sort that kept him from being able to go into the military. So huge veteran supporter, huge first responder supporter. So I was like, man, we want you to come in.
Yeah.
And he's a super good dude. He actually had a #1 song on the radio charts in 2021 called My Boy. And so he's a well-known artist, but probably one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever talked to in my life. Just a super nice guy. So we're excited to have him in. We try to put together a good lineup, bring people out, and as I kind of said earlier, the music's kind of the secondary piece to it, but it's also a healing piece.
Yeah.
And you get some of these bands like Die Tired that they are in the mental health capacity in their work, and it translates into their songs.
It does, for sure.
And yeah, it's just they did one last year, and I cannot remember the name of it right now, but like you could see Jim.
Better Off Alive.
Better Off Alive. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. You could see Jim actually tearing up, like choking back tears as they were playing it. And he's like, it was so crazy to be playing this song for heroes.
Yeah.
And like I was choking back tears while they were playing it as well. And I had 900,000 things going on that day, but I did stop and catch that song, and it meant a lot to me that they played it because the meaning of that song is so impactful. So
it is. Yeah. Their lyrics have really got a message deep. It's not so deep you can't understand it, but I mean, if you really start listening to the music and dive into it lyrically, you can hear the positive message and the message of hope that's in those lyrics, I think.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So that'll be our big event this year. We've already done one smoke off this year as a fundraiser. So we bring in Smoking RWE. So Smoking RWB is a company out of Lincoln. He's a veteran that does smoked salt, kosher salt, and it is amazing. So go online and check out Smoking RWB because you can order it and he'll send it directly to you for free. Shipping is free. You got to pay for the stuff, but great dude. But sidetrack. Sorry, I'm a squirrel.
Me too. It's okay. I got it.
right. But no, we've already done the smoke off this year.
Yeah.
We had about 150 people come through that, and we bring in.
That's good.
Yeah, it's professional backyard smokers that make the meat. We sell it as a fundraiser, but it's also about bringing in nonprofits and for-profits that are veteran-owned to get in front of the people to talk about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's another chance for the nonprofits to kind of push themselves out and really try to grow. So that's pretty cool. We've got the golf tournament. I guess by the time this drops, we'll have our golf tournament ready because it'll be this Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 31st of May. We've got another golf tournament July 19th, and then another smoke off August 9th. So we've got a lot of stuff that we do through the year to bring people out, bring them together, do fundraisers, because what we do costs a lot of money to put together these events and pay the bands and pay the sound and lights and the venues and insurance and everything else that goes with it.
Right.
So we try to raise our own funds. We do get sponsors that come in and sponsor money for us, donors and stuff to help us out with the events. But we've also done stuff like we've got stuff scheduled, the Army Navy game. So we're doing a get together December 13th for the Army Navy game, and just bring
Army.
Well, I don't know about that. Let's go, Mom. To bring people together, harass each other a little bit, and have a good time. That's what we did last year. We had about 60 people show up to our Army Navy get together, and we do it at Nebraska Brewing Company, which is a veteran-owned brewery in Omaha. Paul and Kim, amazing people that own it, do a lot of stuff with us. And then we just this last weekend, we did the Irreverent Warriors, Nebraska. They do a volleyball tournament every year on Memorial Weekend. And so we were sitting there doing that. And one of the guys that runs his name's Jake. And I was like, Jake, I want to do something else in the winter, because everything we do is during the summer. I'm like, I want to do something else in the winter around the holidays to get our guys and gals together, have a good time, get them out of the house instead of just sitting there and moping and not wanting to go anywhere. I want to do something fun. And I looked at him and he looked at me and we both go, dodgeball tournament. Like that quick. And it was like, yeah, we're doing a dodgeball tournament. And they're like, oh, we can get these Nerf balls. And I'm like, oh, no. If we're doing a dodgeball tournament, we are getting the red rubber balls that sting when they hit you. Like, that's the way we're going. So we're in the planning phase right now of doing a dodgeball tournament December 20th. So it'll be the weekend following the Army-Navy game. And it's going to be us, the local Marine Corps League, Irreverent Warriors, and then there's one other group that's going to jump in with us. And we're just going to do it as a combined, I don't care if we make a dime on it. I just want people to get out of the house and have fun and have something to look forward to every year. So
you're doing all of this, plus you're working full time.
Plus I'm working full time. Yep.
Yeah.
Plus my daughter's a singer.
Is she?
And she just cut her first single that will release June 6th, Briella Steiner Music.
Wow.
So she's on all the platforms. You can go out and pre-save her song. But I'm also her manager, her booking manager, her roadie, her chauffeur, her so we got all that on top of yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm sound and lights when we don't have it, and I get to do all that too. And I book a lot of our bands for other gigs outside of what we do. We're going to Missouri this year in September for my daughter to sing. And we've got Brandon Hockett, which is a local veteran that's a Navy veteran. He's going down there to play. I've got Shannon booked for that event to come up from Texas to play in Missouri. I've got the trainer band going down there to play. So I book kind of a booking agent for multiple people, but I don't get paid to do it. So I can't really call myself that. But I try to get these bands exposure, because I know how hard it is. Right. I know how hard it is to grow your brand and grow your name. Yeah. So if I can use my platform to grow these bands and singers that are veterans or first responders, I love being able to do that too. So, and it's been pretty cool with a lot of the singers that we bring in. They hear my daughter sing and she's 19 and they're like, holy crap, like she's really good. So she's written songs with Rachel Harvey Hill, which is a spouse of a veteran or actually still active duty. She's written songs with Joellen Christie. She's writing a song with Shannon Book. And so she's getting that exposure to these artists that, they're doing it right now. Yeah. And she gets to work with them and write songs with them and understand how they do it. So it helps her grow. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great place to be in. She's, we've got your support and that business end of it. And then she's got the expertise of all the artists that are on your platform and on the platforms that you're around. So that's pretty awesome. Good for her. I hope she goes a long ways with her music. That's really exciting.
Me too. I hope I can actually start getting paid for being the booking manager, the roadie.
One of these days, you're going to get a paycheck.
Right. Exactly.
That's awesome.
But no, it's been a lot of fun, and getting to know these singers and bands has been really amazing. Getting to hear their stories. Right. Shannon was just up here for our smoke off the 1st of May, and he stayed at my house with us, and me and Shannon are pretty good buddies, and he was standing in the kitchen with us, and we had another veteran over, Anthony, one of my board members, and Shannon was standing there, and they were talking about war stories. And there were a couple times, like, we got him really talking and going. Yeah. And there were a couple times where you could see him really just kind of holding things back because he was like, he was ready to start crying, and I thought it was awesome that he felt that comfortable with us to be able to just open up and let it go. And I think that's a huge thing, to be able to talk about those dark places where we get to sometimes and have an outlet to where, hey, you can come talk to me anytime you want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's hard for veterans and first responders too, from that standpoint, to talk about things that they've seen or that they've done, because they don't think anybody will understand. So it's easier when they have somebody that's been in those boots or in those shoes that can relate to what they're talking about, or at least if they haven't been there themselves, at least they understand that mission set,
right.
and they're part of that world that kind of draws that community back in for that person. Because
Right.
really it's losing that sense of community, whether you're a firefighter, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a military veteran. Losing community is losing sense of self, I think, really and truthfully. We kind of
Yep.
talked before the show, and when you hang up the uniform and hang up the boots, you got to have something that kind of grounds you again, because if you don't have that, you kind of lose yourself.
Right. Right. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've now expanded out. January 9th was our first episode. We started the Herostock Nation podcast.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and it's just another outlet for people to come on and talk about stuff. And, it might be their military career. It might be the transition out. It may be what they felt at Herostock the last year or 2 years that they've came to, be able to talk about those great experiences there and who they found and who they've connected with. And, I know with Die Tired, the guys from the Dad's Man Cave podcast, they're two veterans out of Beatrice, and they were so excited when I booked Die Tired. They're like, "Oh my God, I just want to meet these guys." And,
Right.
and they spent a lot of time with them guys, hanging out with them and talking to them and stuff, and rocking their gear. And, so it was cool to be able to bring those 2 points together and see that, and, but, with the podcast, we focus mainly on the nonprofit side. We want to bring on good nonprofits that are coming to Herostock to talk about what they're doing, so that our audience has a chance to kind of know them before they go. But we'll bring on singers. We brought on a guy that does a therapy dog through the Omaha Fire Department. And when they go out on a bad call and, they've got to do something ugly, he brings the dog in for the debrief.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he acquired the dog and what the dog does. And, so it's really cool to be able to hear those stories of what they've done and be able to relate that back to an audience, but then be able to also go into our event and how that's helped them and how that's changed, their mindset or who they found there to be able to talk to. So.
Yeah, just having all those people in the same place at the same time. I mean, you're going to connect with somebody. You may not connect with everybody, but you're going to connect with somebody that's going to really help you to ground you again, or to allow you to kind of have that sense of somebody that understands. And then you can start to heal that way, because you've got to have somebody that you can talk to, like you said, or that understands your world and you understand theirs, and you can kind of connect on that level, and then, tell each other whatever you want to say. But just having that sense of somebody that has that same background is what's so important.
Definitely. And that's what we found is if you can, and we're dealing with a hard group, because most veterans, they don't want to come out and be around a group of people. Most of us are like, no, I'd rather just stay home than be in a whole group of people.
Be out with 20,000 people. No, thank you. Yeah, I'll just stay home.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I've got a buddy that was in EOD, and, he saw a lot of bad things, and our 2023 year, he came out to the event, and he called me ahead of time. He goes, "Man, I'm probably only going to be there 5 minutes." He goes, "I hate crowds." He goes, "But I want to come out and support you." And I appreciate that, Troy. Come on out. I just want to see your ugly mug. Like, that's all I want.
Right.
And he showed up. They were there for 5.5 hours. And he sent me a text the next day, and he goes, "I have never been more comfortable in a room full of killers than I was that day." And I was like, that's awesome. So that's the kind of environment that we want to try to create for everybody. Is everybody fits in, everybody has a spot, everybody has somebody that they can meet and understand them, and he talked with this guy with the service dog for probably 3.5 of those 5 hours. And, and they were talking about service dogs and that kind of thing. And so it was cool to see that connect. And that's what we're trying to build, is that community of
like-minded people.
Yep, exactly. Like-minded people.
Yeah. So how would a band or an organization or somebody that wanted to engage with you, how would they do that? What's the best way?
Honestly, probably the best way is to reach out to me through email. It's jason.herostock@gmail.com. Pretty simple. You can hit our website. I run all the social medias. So if you Facebook message us through Herostock page or through my Jason Steiner page, my personal page, I will get back to you as soon as I see it. I'm usually pretty on top of that, and my email. But yeah, those are probably the best ways to get a hold of us. www.herostock.org is actually the website for us. We have a link on there, but sometimes it doesn't get monitored real well because I don't monitor that one. So, if you email me personally or hit me up on Messenger or Instagram or TikTok or any of those, I'm pretty quick at getting back to you on the messages. So.
Is there anything you'd like to say that I didn't ask, or anything you'd like to just tell the audience, or just anything you'd like to say before we have to leave? Because we've got about 3 minutes left.
All right. Probably the biggest thing for me is never give up. If you're running through that dark time and you don't have anybody to call, pound 988, push 1. It takes you to the Veteran Suicide Hotline. Find somebody to reach out to, find somebody to talk to. We just lost one of the guys from my unit. No reason. There was no reason at all. He never left a note. He never left anything. Life was good. And one day on his way to work, he pulled over and ended it. And the wife kept asking why, and there's no answer.
Yeah.
So please reach out, ask for help, find a battle buddy, find a civilian buddy, find somebody that you can talk to, and make sure that you're checking on your buddies too. Yeah. I think I sent about 200 texts yesterday.
Oh, wow.
For Memorial Day. Just, hey man, you good?
Yeah.
And that's all it was. And I got replies back on 98% of them. So
yeah, sometimes that's all you need. Just somebody going, hey, what's up? Thinking about you. I mean, sometimes that makes all the difference in the world. You don't even know sometimes what somebody's going through, and just that simple like hello is just enough to change the whole mood or change, what that person was thinking at the time. So I agree.
Yep, exactly. So, but yeah, let's build a community. Let's bring our heroes together. Let's have fun and come to Herostock. It's a great time.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, thank you, Jason, so much for being on the podcast tonight. And I want everybody to reach back out to Jason and help support his organization. And then if you can get to Nebraska to be a part of the Herostock concert series and all the other events going on, I think you should. So thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Terry, thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you much luck.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.